I'd always been the anxious type. My therapist said it was normal for someone who'd transferred schools 3 times in 2 years. But that October morning at Lincoln High in Portland, Oregon, my anxiety felt different. It felt like a warning. Mr. Baker was my favorite teacher. He made English bearable with his terrible dad jokes and the way he'd act out Shakespeare scenes like he was auditioning for Broadway. So when I walked into third period and saw a substitute at his desk, I felt that first flutter of unease. "Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Allen." His voice was pleasant enough, but something about the way he stood, perfectly still, hands folded in front of him, made my skin prickle. "Mr. Baker called in sick this morning. We'll be having a lockdown drill shortly, so please take your seats." I slid into my usual spot by the window. My best friend Caleb shot me a look that said, "Here we go again." We'd done at least a dozen of these drills since freshman year. Lock the door, turn off the lights, hide under the windows, pretend we're not there. Routine. Except this time, Mr. Allen started preparing before the alarm even sounded. He closed the blinds too tight, each slat clicking into place with deliberate precision. Then he began pacing, heel toe, in this weird, stiff rhythm, like he was counting steps in his head. When the alarm finally blared, he didn't flinch. It was like he'd been expecting it. "Everyone to the far corner, away from the windows," he instructed, his voice eerily calm. We shuffled over, some kids still whispering and checking their phones. Mr. Allen stepped into the hallway for a moment. Through the small window in the door, I watched him look both ways, his head moving in slow, mechanical sweeps. When he came back in, his shirt was slightly untucked, and I swear his hands were trembling. That's when I heard it, the metallic snap of the lock from the hallway side. I was closest to the door. I saw exactly what he did. He'd locked it from outside before stepping back in, then turned the interior deadbolt. We were sealed in from both sides. "Sir," I heard myself say, my voice smaller than I intended, "why'd you lock it like that?" Mr. Allen turned toward me, so slowly it made my stomach drop. The hallway light behind him cut his face in half. One side soft and normal, the other completely shadowed. "Just making sure," he said quietly. "Sometimes people try to open doors during drills. But from the outside," I pressed. He didn't answer. He just smiled, this thin, knowing smile that didn't reach his eyes. Caleb leaned over and whispered, "Bro, he's creeping me out." I nodded, unable to look away from that door handle. Mr. Allen walked the front of class, but he didn't sit behind the teacher's desk like substitutes usually did. He stood beside it, facing us, absolutely motionless, waiting for something. The room felt wrong, too quiet. During drills, you could always hear muffled sounds, footsteps in other hallways, the principal's voice crackling through announcements, confirming it was just practice. But this time, there was nothing. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to hum softer, until all I could hear was my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I checked my phone, 10:37 a.m. I texted my mom, "Lockdown drill RN feels weird." No reply. Service was always spotty in this corner of the building, but usually one bar was enough. Today, nothing. Then Mr. Allen did something that still makes me shiver when I think about it. He slowly reached up, unscrewed the classroom clock on the wall, and placed it face down on the desk. Why'd he do that? Jenny whispered from somewhere behind me. Nobody answered. Mr. Allen stood there, staring at the clock's blank back as if he were trying to listen to it. Then, so softly I almost missed it, he said, "Time always gives you away." That's when we realized the PA system wasn't on. During every other drill, the office would come over the speaker within 5 minutes to confirm it was fake. Just practice. Everyone safe. But there was only silence, thick and suffocating. Maybe it's real, someone whispered. Maybe something's actually happening. The thought rippled through the class like electricity. Even Caleb, who joked through everything, stopped talking. Mr. Allen began walking between our rows of desks, his shoes barely making a sound on the tile. He stopped beside each student, staring just long enough to make it uncomfortable before moving on. When he got to me, he crouched down so we were eye level. "You're doing well," he said softly. "You listen. That's good." I forced a smile I didn't feel. He tilted his head, studying me like I'd said something amusing without meaning to. Then he whispered, "You've got the same eyes as her." I didn't ask who her was. I didn't want to know. He straightened up and moved toward the windows. I heard him slide something heavy, maybe the tall bookshelf, and position it in front of them. Then came the sound of duct tape tearing. Long strips, stretching and sticking. We sat frozen, listening as he taped every seam where the blinds met the window frame. The smell of adhesive filled the room, sharp and chemical, mixing with that dry, dusty classroom air of old carpet and markers. It felt like the whole room was being sealed shut, like we were being preserved. Jenny mouthed across the aisle, "What is he doing?" I shook my head. Caleb pulled out his phone, typed something, and showed me the screen. Should I text the principal? Before I could answer, Mr. Allen turned from the window. "Phone's away." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried this pressure that made your body obey before your brain decided to. He waited until everyone tucked their phones out of sight. "Good," he said with that same calm smile. "They can track signals, even during drills." I don't remember how long we sat there after that. It felt like hours, though my dead phone meant I couldn't check. Every small sound made me jump. The heater clicking on, a pencil rolling off a desk, someone breathing too loud. Then, faintly, through the taped blinds, came a sound that didn't belong inside a school. Scraping. Something metal dragging along the lockers outside. Mr. Allen turned his head toward the door and smiled like he'd been expecting it. No one spoke. We just listened. The scraping moved closer, then stopped right outside room 214. Silence pressed against my chest like a weight. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks on the door. Jenny whimpered. Caleb whispered, "Oh my God." Mr. Allen didn't move at first. Then he stepped forward and placed his hand flat on the door, almost gently. He whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I thought he was talking to whoever was outside, but then he turned slightly toward us and repeated it louder. "You shouldn't be here. Is this part of the drill?" I asked, my voice breaking. He looked at me, and for a second, his eyes didn't look like his eyes anymore. They looked empty, like someone else was using his face. "Drills," he said quietly, "don't prepare you for her." Everyone started whispering, then quietly panicking. Caleb stood up. "This is messed up. I'm leaving." He tried the door. It didn't move. He yanked harder. Nothing. Mr. Allen just watched him, expression perfectly calm. "She doesn't like it when people open doors," he said. "Not until it's time." "What are you talking about?" Caleb snapped. "Who's she?" But Mr. Allen didn't answer. He looked back at the taped windows and whispered, "You'll see." That's when the lights flickered, once, twice, then went out completely. The whole room plunged into darkness, except for a thin glow from someone's smartwatch in the back. People started whispering, crying, fumbling for their phones. Mr. Allen's voice cut through the dark. No lights. Silence again. I could hear breathing all around me, fast and uneven. Someone stifled a sob, and then a sound from the ceiling vent above us. A slow, dragging scrape. Something, or someone, was moving in the air ducts. It's probably a rat, right? Caleb's voice cracked halfway through. The sound stopped directly above us. We all froze, staring up into the darkness. Then the vent cover, that thin metal grate, shifted slightly, just enough to let out a tiny puff of dust that fell into my hair. Jenny gasped, and then, clear as day, a whisper came from inside the vent. It sounded like a girl's voice. "Don't trust him." I swear on everything. It came from inside that vent. Someone screamed, and that broke everything. Kids started standing up, grabbing their bags, trying the door again. Mr. Allen didn't stop them this time. He just stood there, eyes on the ceiling, whispering something under his breath I couldn't make out. Caleb shoved his shoulder against the door, yelling, "It's locked from the outside." He locked us in. The knob rattled, metal clanging uselessly. Then, from the hallway, came another sound. Footsteps. Slow and heavy. They stopped right outside the door again. This time, whoever was started humming. It was a woman's voice, soft, tuneless, but unmistakably there. A lullaby. The kind mother's hum when they're half asleep, comforting a child. Only this one sounded wrong. Off-key. Too slow. Mr. Allen tilted his head, smiling. "She's early," he whispered. I wanted to scream. Jenny grabbed my arm, so tight her nails dug into my skin. "What's happening?" she whispered. I didn't know what to say. All I could do was stare at the taped windows and hope someone, anyone, would notice we hadn't checked in for roll call. Then the door handle turned. Not a rattle, a slow, deliberate turn. Someone outside had a key. The lock clicked softly. Everyone froze, eyes wide in the dim light from the smartwatch. Caleb stepped back from the door like it might explode, but it didn't open. Instead, something slid underneath it, a folded piece of paper. It scraped across the tile and stopped near my shoe. No one moved, and that's when the lights came back on. Everyone flinched at once, blinking in the sudden brightness. The door was still locked, the blinds still sealed, but Mr. Allen was gone. He'd been standing near the desk a second ago. Now there was nothing but his coat draped over the chair. The clock he'd placed face down was gone, too. Caleb ran to the door, pounding on it. "Hey! Someone! Open up!" No answer. Then the intercom finally crackled to life. A woman's voice, calm, professional, said, "Attention staff, the lockdown drill is now complete. Please resume your regular schedule." We all stared at each other, terrified and confused. How could it be over? The door opened a second later from the outside. Our principal, Mrs. Green, stood there with a puzzled look. "What on earth are you doing in here? I've been calling this room for 10 minutes. We all started talking at once. About the substitute, the taped windows, the voice in the vent. Mrs. Green's face went pale. "There wasn't a substitute scheduled for today," she said quietly. "Mr. Baker was supposed to be here. He called in sick this morning." "No," I said. "His name was Mr. Allen. He said he was covering." She frowned. "We don't have a Mr. Allen on staff." That's how it started. But it wasn't the end, because the next day, when I came back to school, there was something waiting for me inside my locker. The morning announcement at Riverside High in Minneapolis, Minnesota, always started the same way. Principal Warren's booming voice, a reminder about upcoming events. Maybe a bad joke that made everyone groan. It was predictable, comforting even, but that Tuesday in November, something was different. My name is Aiden, and I'd been having a rough semester. My parents were going through a divorce. I just quit the soccer team, and my closest friends had graduated the year before. I felt invisible most days, just another face in the crowded hallways. So when the PA system crackled during first period and a soft, trembling voice whispered, "Can anyone hear me?" I figured I was imagining things. The intercom was ancient, always picking up weird static. But then it said my name. Aiden. I froze, my pencil hovering over my history notes. The voice cut in and out between bursts of static, desperate and scared. Around me, everyone else kept working, oblivious. Had they not heard it? Before I could process what was happening, the voice went silent. At lunch, I tried to bring it up casually to my friend Braden. "Hey, did you hear anything weird on the announcements today?" He looked up from his sandwich. "Weird how?" "Like whispering?" He frowned. "No. I mean, the usual feedback noise, but nothing creepy." "Why?" I hesitated, then laughed it off. "Probably nothing. I think I'm just losing it." But as we were leaving the cafeteria, we passed one of the wall-mounted speakers near the library doors. And I swear I heard again, just a single word this time, barely audible. "Stay." I stopped dead. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Braden was already 3 steps ahead. The speaker buzzed softly, then went quiet. The lockdown happened 2 days later. It was 4th period, history class with Mr. Carson. He was showing us some documentary about World War II. Lights dimmed, half the class half asleep. I was doodling in my notebook, trying not to think about the divorce papers my mom had asked me to sign that morning. Then the alarm blared, that shrill electronic siren that drills straight into your skull. The automated voice echoed through the halls. "Lockdown. Lockdown. This is not a drill. Teachers, secure your classrooms immediately." My heart sank. Everyone started panicking at once. Chairs scraping. Someone whisper yelling for their phone. Mr. Carson rushed to lock the door and kill the lights. The siren stopped, and the intercom came on again. But instead of Principal Warren's voice, we heard static. Then that same whispering voice from before, "Don't move. He's in the hallway." Mr. Carson froze, his hand still on the light switch. "What was that?" he muttered. We all looked at him, wide-eyed, waiting for direction. He motioned for us to get down behind the cabinets near the window. We crouched low, the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears when you're terrified. The voice came back, clearer this time. "Room 214. Lock your door." That was us. Room 214. No one spoke, not even Mr. Carson. He just stared up at the speaker on the wall, like he was trying to figure out if this was some kind of sick joke. Then, faintly, we heard footsteps in the hall. Slow, dragging. Someone stopped right outside our door. There was a pause, long enough that I started shaking just from holding my breath. Then the door handle rattled. Once. Hard. Someone was trying to open it. A few people gasped. Mr. Carson whispered urgently, "Quiet." But the rattling got louder, angrier, like whoever was outside was losing patience. I could see shadows moving under the door, pacing back and forth. Then, finally, silence. For about 30 seconds, nothing. Then the intercom came alive again, and this time it was Principal Warren's voice, but it didn't sound right. "Attention, staff and students. The threat has been contained. Please remain in lockdown until further notice. The way he said "contain" made my skin crawl, like he didn't know what word to use, like he was guessing. That didn't sound like him, someone whispered behind me. I agreed. Principal Warren had this deep, reassuring voice, the kind you'd hear giving a speech at graduation. But that voice was shaky, strained, like someone trying to imitate him badly. We stayed locked down for what felt like hours. Every so often, we'd hear faint noises from the hallway, doors creaking, distant footsteps, sounds you couldn't tell were real or your imagination playing tricks. At one point, I thought I heard crying coming through the intercom again, soft and distant, like a girl sobbing somewhere far away. Then it turned into laughter. Just one short, breathy laugh, cut off mid-sound. Braden, sitting next to me, mouthed, "Did you hear that?" I nodded, my hand shaking. We waited. Then, around what I think was the third announcement, the voice came back. Not the whisper this time. The fake principal again. "All clear. Please proceed to the gym for attendance." No one moved. Even Mr. Carson looked unsure. But a lockdown light near the door switched from red to green, the signal that it was supposedly safe. He took a shaky breath. Okay, everyone stayed together. We stood up slowly, our legs numb from crouching. The hallway outside was dim, half the ceiling lights flickering. I remember the smell like burnt plastic, maybe from the alarm system overheating. We walked toward the gym in a tight group. I kept looking at the intercom speakers mounted near the lockers. One of them was humming, not static, but this low hum like someone breathing through it. Then, just as we turned the corner, I heard my name again, clear as day, whispered right into my ear through that speaker. "Don't go to the gym." I stopped walking. Everyone else kept moving forward. "Hey," Braden whispered, tugging at my sleeve. "Come on." But I couldn't move. The voice was still there, whispering something else now, too low to catch. "Braden," I said quietly, "did you hear that?" He frowned, shaking his head. "What?" "The static." I didn't answer. The hallway lights flickered again, and for a split second, I saw something through the glass window of the classroom door across from us. A figure, standing completely still. Not a student, not a teacher, just tall, wearing something that looked like a janitor's uniform. I blinked, and it was gone. When we finally reached the gym, it was half lit, packed with students from other classes. Teachers were trying to calm everyone down, but something felt wrong. It was too quiet, too controlled. I scanned the crowd, looking for Principal Warren, but he wasn't there. Neither were the cops. No administrators. Just a bunch of dazed kids and nervous teachers. That's when the intercom came on one last time. "Students, please return to your classrooms." Every teacher froze. "Wait," someone said. "That doesn't make any sense." The lights flickered, then went out completely for a few seconds. Total darkness. And in that darkness, I swear I heard the same voice whispering again, right behind me. "I told you not to come here." When the lights came back on, everyone in the gym was panicking. Some kids were crying. Others trying to push toward the exits. Teachers were yelling for everyone to calm down, but the fear in their voices made it worse. The first thing I did was look toward the back of the gym, where the doors to the main hallway were. They were wide open now. A janitor's mop bucket sat just inside the doorway. It was dripping. The sound was soft, rhythmic. Drip, drip, drip. But the liquid inside wasn't water. It was dark. Too dark. Someone near me whispered, "Is that?" Before they could finish, the intercom popped again. Everyone, please return to your classrooms immediately. Do not panic. That voice, the same shaky imitation. And this time, I could hear something beneath it. Breathing. Mr. Carson tried to take control. All right, everyone, let's stay calm. We'll move back in groups. But another voice cut him off. A teacher near the bleachers shouted, Mr. Carson, they just told us to stay here. He turned confused. What? They said remain in the gym until police arrive. It just came through our speaker. The gym fell silent. 2 different messages from the same intercom, seconds apart. Braden grabbed my hand. I could feel him shaking. What's happening? I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the PA speaker above the scoreboard. It was hissing softly, like someone was whispering, but the words were too low to make out. And then, between bursts of static, I heard it again. My name, faint, drawn out, like someone was pressing their lips right against the mic. Aiden, please listen to me. I felt lightheaded. It said my name again. I whispered. Braden's eyes widened. You're serious? I nodded. And then, quietly, from somewhere deep inside the speakers, we heard it. Laughter. The next 10 minutes were chaos. Half the teachers tried to lead their classes back to the rooms. Others said to stay put. Some kids called their parents. The signal was weak, but a few messages got through. Parents who said there were no police cars outside the school. No official lockdown alert from the district. We were alone. Someone decided to check anyway. One of the assistant coaches, Mr. Harvey, went to the doors. He peeked into the hallway, flashlight on. He took 2 steps out, then froze. His flashlight beam was jerking all over the place, up the walls, across the floor, back toward the gym doors like he was tracking something that moved too fast to see. Then, suddenly, the light dropped. It rolled back into the gym, spinning across the floor. But Mr. Harvey didn't come back. People screamed. The teachers tried to lock the doors, but the metal latch on one side was broken. We ended up stacking benches against them. That's when we heard footsteps again, slow, echoing down the hall. I swear, whoever it was, they were dragging something. It made this scraping noise against the tile like metal on concrete. The steps stopped right outside the gym. Then there was a knock. 3 slow knocks. Everyone held their breath. Then, through the intercom, came the whisper again. Room 214. That was my classroom. The one we'd just come from. I didn't think. I just acted. I grabbed Braden's wrist and pulled him toward the side exit near the equipment room. Where are you going? He hissed. It said my room. I need to see. Are you insane? Maybe I was. But something in me needed to know. Needed to understand what this thing wanted. The equipment room door was unlocked. We slipped through and found ourselves in a narrow back hallway that connected to the main one. The air back there was freezing and the lights flickered like a dying heartbeat. We crept forward slowly, the sound of chaos behind us fading. And then the intercom crackled again, only this time it was directly above us. He's coming. Braden grabbed my arm, so hard his nails dug in. What did it say? I didn't answer because down the hall, near the bend where the classroom started, I saw someone standing under the flickering lights. At first, I thought it was another teacher, but then the figure turned its head, too slow, too stiff, and I realized the uniform wasn't one I'd ever seen before. It wasn't our janitor's. It wasn't any staff I recognized. The face was pale, half hidden in shadow, and then it spoke, except it didn't move its mouth. The voice came through the speaker, right above us, You shouldn't have come here. We ran. I don't even remember grabbing the door handle to room 214, just bursting inside and slamming it shut. I locked it and backed away, my chest heaving. The classroom looked exactly as we'd left it. Chairs overturned, projector still flickering with the paused image of that World War II documentary. Then I noticed the intercom speaker in the corner. It was on, not just humming, glowing. A faint red light pulsed behind the grill, like a heartbeat. Why is it doing that? Braden whispered. I stepped closer, hands trembling. The static grew louder the closer I got. For a moment, I swear I could hear someone breathing on the other end. Then, suddenly, a voice burst through so loud I jumped back. Help me. It was a man's voice. Desperate, cracking, then silence. Then another voice layered under it, almost echoing. Don't listen. We both screamed when the door handle rattled. This time, whoever was out there didn't stop after a few seconds. They kept twisting it, shaking the whole door violently. It's locked, right? Braden whispered, panic rising in his voice. It's locked. Yes, I said, but my voice broke halfway through. The intercom crackled again. He's outside your door. I pressed my back against the far wall. The sound of metal scraping the floor came from the hallway again. Closer this time. The rattling stopped. I held my breath. Then, slowly, a piece of paper slid under the door. It was a hall pass. Old, crumpled, the kind we used to use in middle school before we switched to digital IDs. It had my name written on it. And underneath, in shaky pencil, you never left. That's where everything broke. The lights went out completely. The projector shut off. The only glow left was the pulsing red light behind the intercom speaker. Then the voice returned, louder than ever, distorted, overlapping itself. You're still here. You never left. You never left. You never left. Braden covered his ears, screaming. I grabbed his arm, dragging him toward the window, but when I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. The handle was ice cold, like it had been frozen shut. We turned back toward the door and froze. The shadow under the door was back, but this time there were two. I remember the sound more than anything, that slow, deliberate breathing on the other side of the door, like whoever or whatever was standing there knew we couldn't go anywhere. Two sets of feet, two shadows, unmoving. We're going to die here, Braden whispered. I wanted to tell him no. I wanted to sound brave, but I couldn't form words. The intercom clicked again, the speaker light pulsing red against the darkness. He's not real. The voice was whispering faster now, shaky and scared, like whoever was speaking to the intercom was desperate to warn us. Then, overlapping that whisper, another voice came through, deeper, calm. Stay inside, students. Everything is under control. It was Principal Warren's voice. But Principal Warren had died in a car accident 3 weeks ago. The whole school had attended his memorial. His photo was still framed at the front office, surrounded by flowers and candles. So, how the hell was he talking to the intercom? The door handle turned again, slow this time, and through the gap beneath the door, something slid in, the edge of a shoe, black, polished, like a principal's dress shoe. Braden started shaking his head, whispering, "No, no, no," over and over. Then the intercom screamed, not a voice, just this ear-splitting feedback, like a mic held too close to an amp. It hurt so bad I dropped to the floor, hands over my ears. When it stopped, the room was completely silent. I dared to look up. The intercom light had turned green. For a second, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe this was some twisted prank or technical glitch. That's when the voice came again, calm and polite. "You may now return to gym." And at that exact moment, the door to the classroom clicked open. No one pushed it. It just swung an inch inward, slow and creaking. "It's unlocked," Braden's whisper cracked. I didn't want to go near it, but the hallway outside was dead quiet. No footsteps, no screaming, nothing. The silence was worse than the noise. "We have to move," I said. "We can't stay here." So we stepped out. The hallway lights were dimmed to this sickly yellow glow. Every door was shut tight. I realized something weird as we crept forward. The air smelled different, like dust and cleaning chemicals, but stronger, older, and there were no sounds. Not from other classrooms, not even from outside. It felt like the whole building was holding its breath. We walked past the janitor's closet. The door was cracked open. Inside, the mop bucket from earlier sat in the dark, liquid sloshing faintly with every step we took. Except it wasn't water. The closer I looked, the clearer it became. That reddish tint, the smell of iron, blood. That's when I noticed a name tag on the floor beside it. Warren, our principal's name. Braden started crying. "We have to go. Please." We ran past classrooms, past lockers, until we hit the main hall that led toward the office. The light above the office door was flickering. The intercom speakers buzzed as we passed them, every single one turning on one by one as if tracking us. "You shouldn't be here," one whispered. "Go back," another hissed. I covered my ears, trying to drown it out, but the voices overlapped until it was just noise. When we reached the front office, the door was wide open. Inside, every computer monitor was on, but the screen showed nothing but black, except for one in the corner that displayed a frozen image of the school hallway, the live feed from the security cameras. Except in that footage, the timestamp said 2017, 8 years ago, and on the screen, clear as day, was me, sitting in the same classroom, wearing the same clothes. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, shaking. What is this?" The footage continued. It showed the lockdown alarm going off. The same panic, the same sequence of events. Except this time, I saw something I hadn't seen before, a tall figure in a dark uniform walking the halls. He entered room 214, and he never came out. Then the feed glitched, flickering to another camera. This one showed the intercom control room. A man sat in front of a panel of switches and microphones, face buried in his hands. The name tag on his shirt was blurry, but I could just make out one word. "Warren." He looked up at the camera, eyes wide and wet. Then he whispered, "I can't stop it." The screen went black. "This can't be happening." Braden trembled beside me. "This." He stopped because the intercom speaker above the office desk came to life again. "Please return to your classrooms. The threat has been contained." But it wasn't a recording this time. It was live, and it was his voice. We turned toward the speaker, and in the reflection of the glass office door, I saw movement behind us. A man, tall, pale, wearing the same suit and tie Principal Warren used to wear. His face was distorted, not inhuman, but wrong, like a wax figure half melted under heat. He raised one hand slowly. I don't know why, but I froze. My body just refused to move. He opened his mouth, and the intercom echoed his words at the same time. "You never left that day." Everything started flashing, lights strobing. Alarms wailing, the intercom looping the same phrase. You never left. You never left. You never left. Braden screamed and ran toward the side exit. I followed, my legs finally responding. But when he pushed the door open, it didn't lead outside. It opened into another hallway. The same one. Room 214 at the end. We turned around. The principal was gone. Just silence. The intercom clicked one last time. Please return to your classroom. Then all the lights went out. When I woke up, I was in the nurse's office. A police officer was standing over me, saying something I barely heard. They said it was all over. A false alarm. A malfunction. A system glitch that caused the intercom chaos. But when I asked about Principal Warren's voice, the cop looked at me strangely. Principal Warren, he said slowly, has been dead for 3 weeks. They said they found no one else in hallways. No signs of intruders. No one matching the man we described. Braden doesn't talk about it anymore. He transferred schools the next week. But me? I still hear it. Sometimes when I walk past the old building, the outdoor intercom crackles faintly, like it's remembering my name. And last night, when I passed after dark, I heard that voice again. Room 214. Then a pause. Then almost gently, you still haven't left. Friday nights at Westfield High in Denver, Colorado, were sacred. The whole town crammed into the bleachers to watch the basketball team play. The air thick with the smell of popcorn, sweat, and teenage victory. I loved those nights. The energy, the noise, the way everyone forgot about homework and drama for 2 hours. My name is Connor, and I was a junior that year. I wasn't on the team, but I never miss a home game. My girlfriend Mackenzie was a cheerleader, and my best friend Lucas always saved me a spot in the student section. That Friday in February started normal enough. We beat our rivals in the first quarter, the crowd going wild with every basket. But halfway through the second quarter, right after our point guard made an incredible three-pointer, something strange happened. The heavy metal doors at both ends of the gym slammed shut. Hard. At first, everyone laughed. A couple of guys even joked about ghosts. Guess we're not allowed to leave until we win, someone shouted and people cheered. But when people started trying to leave for the bathrooms or snack bar, the laughter stopped. The doors wouldn't budge. Not even a centimeter. Coach Simmons was the first to notice something was really wrong. He stormed over to the nearest exit, shouting at a few students to stop messing around. But when he grabbed the handle and pulled with both hands, his face went red with effort. It didn't move. He tried the other door. Nothing. The cheerleaders stopped mid-routine, their pom-poms drooping in uneasy silence. The game announcer's voice crackled over the PA system, half joking. All right, folks, looks like we're staying put for a while. But you could hear the tension starting to build. Whispers, murmurs, the squeak of sneakers against the polished floor as people began crowding near the exits. And then the lights flickered. It wasn't just a random power surge. The lights dimmed slowly, one section at a time, working from the far bleachers toward the scoreboard, until only the court itself was lit, a perfect circle of white light, surrounded by black. Someone near the back shouted, "Hey!" Who turned off the breaker? No answer. Then the PA system screeched. A burst of static sharp enough to make everyone cover their ears. When the noise cleared, the voice that followed wasn't the announcer's. It was slow, calm, wrong. Please remain seated. The doors will open when the game is over. A few people laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of prank, until they realized the voice didn't belong to anyone from the school. It didn't even sound fully human, like it was being filtered through something. A mother in the crowd grabbed her son and started shouting for someone to open the emergency exits. A few parents rushed to help her, slamming against the doors, trying to pry them open with their hands. One guy, Henry, the head janitor, ran toward the side utility room to check the breaker box. He had the keys. He'd fix this. He never came back. After about 5 minutes, his flashlight beam could still be seen faintly under the utility door, moving in slow circles. Then one by one, the lights on that side of the gym went out completely. When a student went to check on him, the room was empty. Just his key ring, lying on the floor beside a puddle of water that hadn't been there before. That's when the panic started. People began pounding on the doors, screaming to be let out. Kids were crying. Someone was on their phone trying to call 911, but there was no signal, no Wi-Fi, nothing. Every phone in the gym had the same issue, no bars, no connection. Coach Simmons got on the PA mic, trying to calm everyone down. Listen up, we're gonna figure this out. All right? Stay where you are. Don't push. But before he could finish, the microphone cut out, replaced by that same strange voice again. Stay inside. The doors will open when the game is over. Only this time, it added something new. Don't look at the scoreboard. Everyone turned toward the scoreboard, and that's when it started counting down. The clock, which had been frozen at 7:42, suddenly blinked red and began ticking backward. 7:41, 7:40, 7:39, but the game on the court had stopped. There were no players. The court was empty. The players who had been there just seconds ago were gone. Their uniforms, their shoes, even the basketball, gone. The stands erupted into chaos. People shouted their names, parents crying out for their kids. But there was nothing, no trace. Then the PA clicked on again. Game in progress. One of the students, a senior named Tyler, shouted, "This is some kind of joke. It's a prank." He stormed down onto the court, waving his hands. "Come on, who's doing this?" The moment his feet touched the painted center circle, the buzzer blared, long and deafening. The lights above the court flashed white, and for a split second, everyone saw movement. Shapes, shadows, like figures running. But not people. They were too tall, their movements too smooth, almost like they were floating instead of running. Then darkness again. When the lights came back up, Tyler was gone. Only his phone lay in the middle of the court. Screen cracked. Camera still recording. I was sitting halfway up the bleachers with Lucas and Mackenzie. I remember gripping the edge of my seat, so tight my knuckles went white. I couldn't move, couldn't think straight. Everyone around us was either screaming, praying, or frozen in disbelief. The scoreboard kept ticking backward. 6:54, 6:53, and every time the number dropped below another minute mark, something else disappeared. The announcer's booth went dark. The cheerleaders' banner vanished. A whole section of the bleachers, empty space where people had been sitting seconds ago. No sound, no trace, just gone. The voice came back, softer this time. "Please remain seated. Do not interfere with the game." By now, people were breaking down, pounding on doors, trying to smash the glass windows. But the glass didn't even crack. It just rippled like water. "We're not in the gym anymore," Lucas whispered beside me. I didn't understand what he meant until I looked up at the ceiling. It wasn't the gym ceiling anymore. The banners, the lights, the beams, everything had been replaced with a pitch black void. No rafters, no structure, Just endless darkness, with faint shapes drifting through it. And from up there came the sound of cheering. Thousands of voices, echoing from somewhere unseen. They weren't human cheers. The scoreboard hit 6 o'clock, and a faint red light began to glow beneath the floorboards, seeping through the cracks between the wooden panels like blood. Coach Simmons tried to rally the crowd again. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted, but his voice cracked with fear. He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes going wide. He was looking past the bleachers toward the far exit, and slowly, every head turned to follow his gaze. Someone was standing there, a tall figure in a referee's uniform, face hidden beneath a black mask. He raised one hand and blew a whistle. The sound pierced through everything and the lights cut out. When they came back on, Coach Simmons was gone. The referee was standing in the center of the court now, holding something, a clipboard, smeared with what looked like blood. The scoreboard ticked again, for 05, and for the first time, the voice over the PA spoke directly to us. "New players have entered the game." The crowd went silent. Then the buzzer sounded again, and this time, it wasn't the shadows that moved onto the court. It was us. Mackenzie grabbed my arm and screamed. I looked down and saw it. My feet were moving on their own, carrying me toward the court as if pulled by invisible strings. The same was happening to dozens of others around us. No one could stop. The whistle blew again, and everything went black. When we woke up, it wasn't the gym anymore. The bleachers, the scoreboard, the court, they were gone. Instead, the room stretched into endless darkness. The faint outline of the doors we'd been trapped behind was still there, but twisted, warped, impossible to reach. Where are we? Lucas gasped beside me. I had no answer. I tried to stand, but my legs felt heavy, like wading through water. The floor beneath us pulsed slightly, as if it were breathing. A distant sound echoed through the darkness, the faint squeak of sneakers on polished wood. Footsteps moving in rhythm, circling us. Then a voice, not over the PA this time. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Welcome back. The game continues." I swallowed hard. What game? The shadows started moving. Long, twisted figures emerged from the blackness. Their forms were human enough to recognize, but stretched and distorted, moving on joints that shouldn't bend, limbs that flickered in and out of existence. I could see their faces. Some were smiling, others blank, hollow-eyed, like they'd been playing this game for years. "I don't want to play." Mackenzie clutched my arm, trembling. The voice laughed softly. "You don't get to choose." Then one of the figures stepped closer. Its face was familiar. It was Tyler, the senior who disappeared when he stepped onto the court. But it wasn't him. Not really. His eyes were black, hollow, and his mouth stretched in a permanent scream. He raised his hand toward us. People around me were screaming now, but the sound didn't carry far. Like it was swallowed by the darkness. I tried to move, to run, but my feet didn't respond. And then something worse. The darkness itself seemed to twist around me. Shadows reached out like tendrils, brushing my arms, my legs, my face. Cold, wet, hungry. The voice spoke again, closer this time. "Time to play. Follow the rules." I could feel it in my chest, in my throat, panic rising, clawing, thick and suffocating. Then a rule appeared, glowing red in the air before us. Rule 1. Survive until the buzzer. The buzzer sounded immediately, a deep, vibrating hum that made my teeth ache. I don't know how long we moved through that place. Minutes? Hours? It felt like days. The figures circled us, their faces flickering like bad television. Some were whispering, others screaming silently. Every time we tried to hide, the shadows found us. Every time we moved forward, the floor beneath us shifted, forcing us in directions we didn't want to go. And the scoreboard, it floated somewhere ahead of us in the darkness, glowing ominously. Every second it ticked down seemed to echo through the void. 304, 303, 302. The PA voice chimed in again. Cheating is not allowed. The rules are clear. I realized if we tried to fight, the shadows would grab us. If we froze, we'd be stuck here forever. There was no real choice. Lucas screamed when one of the shadow figures lunged at him. I reached out, trying to pull him back, but my hand passed through his body. I staggered backward, heart pounding. We weren't in the physical world anymore. We were inside the gym, but not the gym we knew. A copy, a twisted, mirrored version layered over reality like a reflection in broken glass. And the game wasn't over. The scoreboard blinked again. 259, 258. The shadows intensified. Hundreds of them now, swirling around us, whispering rules, mocking us, dragging invisible chains that made every step harder. Then I heard it, a familiar voice, the one that had been over the intercom all night. Only one way to survive. Reach the doors before the buzzer ends. Fail and the game keeps you. I knew, without thinking, that the doors were the same ones that had trapped us in the first place. If we didn't reach them before the buzzer hit 0, we wouldn't just fail the game. We'd disappear. Just like Tyler. Just like the janitor. I grabbed Lucas and Mackenzie's hands. We have to run. They nodded, tears streaking their faces. We ran. The shadows lashed out, pulling at us, twisting our bodies, whispering threats into our ears. I could hear dozens of voices screaming our names, some begging for help, some laughing. Everything was disorienting. Walls shifted, lights flickered. The scoreboard floated ahead, the numbers ticking down faster than real time. 159, 158. We reached the first set of doors. The handles were just within reach. I yanked at them. Locked. The second set. Locked 2. The shadows closed in. I could feel the cold brushing my neck. My hair standing on end. The intercom voice whispered again, soft but deadly. You almost made it. Almost. Panic surged through me. I turned toward the scoreboard. The countdown was almost finished. 015, 014. Mackenzie grabbed a metal chair and smashed it against the nearest door. The handle jiggled. The lock clicked. I threw my shoulder into the door. It swung open just a crack. The cold air from outside hit us like a gust of winter wind. We didn't look back. We just ran. The hallway beyond the gym looked normal. Too normal. The bleachers, the court, the scoreboard, gone. Just a quiet, empty school hallway late at night. Lucas, Mackenzie, and I ran through it, our shoes squeaking against the polished floor, the fluorescent lights humming above us. When we reached the front doors, they opened easily, like they'd never been locked. Outside, the night was calm. No parents, no police, no flashing lights. Just a quiet town, the street lamps, and the distant sound of a dog barking. We collapsed onto the sidewalk, gasping, shaking. The next day, the school announced the gym doors had malfunctioned. A simple electrical failure. No one mentioned the shadows. No one mentioned Tyler, the janitor, or the countdown. But Lucas, Mackenzie, and I never spoke of it again. Some things we decided were better left unsaid, except for the scoreboard. Because late at night, When the gym lights are off and the town is quiet, I can still hear it ticking. 015, 014, 003, waiting for the next game. I knew something was wrong the moment the intercom crackled that morning. First period, sophomore biology at Jefferson High in Seattle, Washington, and Mr. Hayward wasn't there yet. That alone wasn't unusual. He was late sometimes, but the office sent a strange message over the PA. All students, remain in your classrooms. Mr. Hayward is unavailable. Stay put until further notice. The words were clipped awkward, like the secretary didn't want to say what was really happening. My name is Chloe, and I've been having Mr. Hayward for biology all semester. He was one of those teachers everyone liked. Young, enthusiastic, always cracking jokes about mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. His classroom was my safe space, especially after my older brother deployed overseas and my parents stopped talking to each other. I glanced around the classroom. Some kids were texting, some shrugged it off, but the air felt heavy, thick, like you couldn't breathe properly. By the time the bell rang, Mr. Hayward still hadn't shown. I raised my hand and called the office phone on his desk. Hello? I whispered into the receiver. Nothing. I tried again. Nothing. The line was dead. Then the intercom buzzed again. This time, inside our classroom. A soft, trembling voice came through. Please stay seated. Don't leave. It's safer this way. Everyone froze. The classroom went silent, except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. No one moved. I should have laughed, called it a prank, but I couldn't. The voice, it sounded terrified. By mid-morning, the weirdness escalated. The janitor, who usually made round with a vacuum or mop, never came by. The hallway outside was unnaturally quiet. Normally, you'd hear the squeak of sneakers, the chatter of students passing between classes. But not that day. Every time someone tried to peek outside the classroom door, it felt like the hallway stretched longer, darker, emptier than it should have. And the more we waited, the more I noticed it. Shadows, small, flickering movements near the windows, behind the lockers, along the walls. Not people. Not quite. Around 11 a.m., the office finally called in over the intercom. Classrooms are secure. Teachers are accounted for. Continue your lessons as usual. Except Mr. Hayward never arrived. I raised my hand again, my throat dry. Can I go check the office? A voice, low and hurried, came through the classroom intercom. No, sit down. Don't leave. The word sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced at my classmates. Some were uneasy. Some pretended not to hear it. But no one moved. By lunchtime, things had gotten worse. I was alone at my desk, trying to text a friend, when I heard a faint knock on the door. Not the kind of knock a student would make. Slow, deliberate, almost like claws scraping against wood. Hello? I whispered. Standing up, no response. I edged closer. The doorknob rattled lightly at first, then harder. Someone was on the other side. Mr. Hayward? I called. No answer. Then the whisper came through the intercom again. Don't open it. Please don't. I froze, my stomach twisting. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get out of the classroom. But the voice, that terrified, pleading voice, held me in place. The door rattled again, louder this time. I'm trapped too, the voice said, soft and broken. It wasn't coming through the intercom this time. It was under the door. A low, wet scraping sound, nails on wood, or something else. I could feel my heart thundering. Then the classroom lights flickered. The next hour passed like a nightmare. No one entered the room. No announcements. No intercom messages. Nothing. And yet, I could feel it. The presence outside the door. Watching. Waiting. I tried to focus on my notes, on the biology assignment in front of me. But the longer I stayed, the louder the breathing became. Not my own. Someone else's. Slow. Shallow. Uneven. And then I noticed the shadows on the wall. They weren't mine. Not quite. They moved slightly ahead of the light, like they knew what I was going to do before I did it. Finally, the bell rang. I ran to the door. The hallway was empty, silent, but Mr. Hayward's classroom door, room 112, was cracked open. Inside, his desk was gone, his chair overturned, but on the floor, his glasses, bent, scratched, as if he'd tried to pick them up and couldn't. A piece of paper lay beside them. In his handwriting, "I can't leave. Don't come in." By the time third period rolled around, the classroom had become a trap. We couldn't hear any voices from the hall. No other teachers calling over the intercom. Nothing. Just a low hum of the fluorescent lights and the occasional scrape from under the door. I tried to call the office again. Nothing. Then the intercom flickered to life. Not the usual crackle, but clear, deliberate. "Do not open the door. I can't stop it." It was Mr. Hayward's voice, but distorted, twisted, like it was coming from far away and right next to me at the same time. I couldn't breathe. The first attempt to leave the classroom came from Nathan, a kid in the back row. He got up, pushed the door, and immediately froze. His eyes went wide. He pointed toward the crack at the bottom of the door. A shadow, long black, with fingers that seemed to stretch impossibly, reached out under the door. Slowly, deliberately, Nathan screamed. I grabbed him and yanked him back into his seat. The shadow recoiled, but not entirely. It lingered, twitching, before retreating into the hallway. The intercom buzzed again. It's waiting. It always waits. By fourth period, no one dared speak above a whisper. We were counting the minutes, trying to make sense of what was happening. The intercom stayed silent for long stretches, but every time it spoke, it was something worse than the last time. It sees you. Stop looking at it. He isn't your teacher anymore. The last message hit me like a punch. Mr. Hayward wasn't our teacher. He was something else. I don't know how long it took for everyone to panic completely. The room was suffocating with fear. But the real terror began when the doorknob started turning. Slowly, one full rotation, then stopped. We all backed away from the door, trembling. I could hear it breathing now. Low, wet, like someone who'd been trapped for days. The intercom crackled again. He's gone. You can't save him. Don't follow. I couldn't help myself. I peeked through the small window in the door. The hallway was empty. For a moment, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe the lockdown was just some nightmare. Then I saw it. A figure, moving impossibly fast. Not human. Not really. Its head tilted in the wrong direction. Eyes like black pits, limbs jerking at angles that shouldn't exist. And it was carrying Mr. Hayward. His body didn't struggle. His face was pale, slack-jawed. His glasses were gone. The figure turned toward the classroom, and I could feel its gaze through the window, through the wall, even through the intercom. You're next. The panic was instant. We tried to barricade the door with chairs and tables. We screamed, yelled for help, pounded on the walls. Nothing worked. The shadow outside waited. Calm, patient. It started whispering in Mr. Hayward's voice. Fragments of sentences, pleading, warning us. Don't open. Please. Not yet. But the whisper came out as static-filled, broken syllables. By fifth period, the situation became surreal. The intercom wasn't just a voice anymore. It was everywhere. I could hear it in the ceiling vents, the fluorescent lights, even under floorboards. Stop moving. He's watching. Don't look at it. The lights flickered violently. Shadows danced across the walls. Even our own silhouettes were twisted, longer, jagged, wrong. Some students started screaming uncontrollably. Some tried to hide under desks. Some sat frozen, staring at the walls like they'd gone insane. I kept my eyes on a window in the door. The figure was still there, waiting, watching. Then came the final warning. One door, one chance. Don't open it until he stops moving. The words didn't make sense, but I realized what it meant when the figure shifted. Mr. Hayward's body started changing. Skin pale, hair falling, eyes wide and empty, limbs twitching unnaturally. It wasn't him anymore. It was a figure, and it wanted us. We didn't wait any longer. Nathan and I grabbed a few others and pushed the door open. The hallway was still eerily quiet. Too quiet. We moved in a line, clutching each other toward the office. The lights flickered. Shadows stretching from lockers and corners like fingers brushing against us as we passed. Every step felt like walking underwater. We reached the office and it was empty. No secretary, no principal, no one except the intercom. It buzzed one final time. He will find you if you stay here. Then the office doors slammed shut behind us. We ran for front doors. They opened this time, releasing us into the bright, normal sunlight of the school courtyard. People milled about, completely unaware of what had happened inside. Teachers and students laughed, called names, carried on like nothing had occurred. Nathan and I didn't speak. We just ran. Weeks later, Mr. Hayward never returned. They said he retired early. No one asked questions. But sometimes when I walk past that classroom, I hear the whisper, soft, trembling. Don't open it. Please don't. And I know the figure is still waiting for the next teacher, the next class, the next student who thinks they're safe. I knew something was off the second I walked into the music room. It was after school, and I was helping Mr. Daniels, the band teacher, pack up instruments for the weekend. The room smelled like old wood and brass polish, warm and comforting, the way a music room should smell. My name is Ethan, and I've been in band since freshman year at Riverside Academy in Boston, Massachusetts. Playing trumpet was the one thing that made sense to me after my dad left and my mom started working double shifts. The music room was my sanctuary. But that day, something felt different. When I pushed open the back door that led to the practice hall, it slammed shut behind me. Hard, not the usual creak, not the wind catching it, a full force slam. I jumped. Mr. Daniels? I called. No answer. The lights flickered, dimming, then brightening again. I walked toward the door to try it again. It wouldn't budge, not a centimeter. I pulled, shoved, twisted the handle. Locked. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the ventilation system, until the first scream came. High-pitched, blood-curdling. It wasn't a student. It wasn't Mr. Daniels. It came from inside the walls. I backed away slowly, heart pounding. Then I heard it again, closer this time. Not a scream, but words. Get out. Don't touch the door. Please. I froze. The voice was trembling, almost like someone was trapped behind the wall, screaming through layers of wood and metal. My stomach churned. I glanced at the instruments on the stands, the trumpets, the tubas, the violins, all of them quivering slightly, as if something inside the room was vibrating against the air itself. Then the intercom clicked to life. Not Mr. Daniel's voice. Not even the office. She shouldn't have come. I recognized a voice, thin, desperate, but not familiar. The door. It takes them. Please don't. My hands shook so badly I couldn't grab my phone to call anyone. The screaming started again, louder, more frantic. I realized it wasn't coming from the walls anymore. It was coming from the door itself. The wood groaned. The handle rattled violently. It sounded like someone or something was trapped inside, clawing its way out. I tried the door again. Locked. The lights flickered once more, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. And then I heard footsteps, soft, slow, coming from the hallway outside the locked door. I couldn't see anything. My ears strained. The door shivered. A low moan slipped through the crack beneath it. Help me. I backed away from the door, my back hitting the wall. Then I felt it. A cold breeze brushing the back of my neck. Not from outside. From inside the room. I turned slowly. The clarinet on the stand in front of me started moving. Slightly at first, then faster, spinning like someone invisible had picked it up. The brass instruments joined in, a chorus of scraping, rattling, vibrating, as if the room itself had come alive. The intercom buzzed again. The door chooses, and it has chosen. I screamed and ducked behind a tuba stand. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt like it had no meaning. The lights flickered back on briefly. The door was no longer just a door. It had a face, a dark, twisted distortion. A gaping maw that screamed silently, edges moving like they were alive. The handle quivered as if it had teeth. I couldn't breathe. And then the voice, unmistakable, low and rasping, whispered, "She sees you, and now she waits." I stumbled backward, my shoulder hitting the wall. The clarinet crashed to the floor. The door shivered, groaned, then stopped. Silence. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then a fingernail tapped against the wood from inside. Slow, deliberate. Then another, and another, like someone was counting. I turned, ready to run toward the hallway, but my legs refused. And then I heard it, the unmistakable sound of screaming. My own name, Ethan. The intercom buzzed violently. She's not real. She's waiting. Don't open it. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. When the janitor finally found me hiding behind the stands, the door was just a normal door again. No sound, no distortion, no screaming, just locked like always. He said nothing when I told him, but I know what's behind that door, and I know it's still waiting, because sometimes late at night, I hear the screaming again. Ethan, come back. Don't leave. I couldn't stay away from that door. Not really. Every time I tried to forget it, the screaming came back. Soft at first, almost a whisper. Then louder, echoing in my dreams. It called my name. Ethan. Ethan. A week later, I found myself standing outside the music room again. The hallway was empty, quiet, normal. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Everything looked ordinary, except the door. It pulsed slightly like it was breathing. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the handle. The intercom crackled. "You shouldn't have come back." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. But something inside me wouldn't let me leave. I opened the door. It didn't creak. It didn't slam. It was silent. The room smelled faintly of brass polish, old wood, and something else. Iron. I stepped inside, shaking. The instruments lay scattered on the floor, as if the room had been abandoned in a hurry. And then I heard again a scream, muffled, coming from the back of the room. "Ethan, help!" I followed it, hard in my throat, toward the corner where the old storage closet stood. The door to the closet rattled violently. I could see it now. Not a face, not a figure, but darkness. Thick, swirling, moving. Alive. "It's waiting," the intercom hissed. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my feet wouldn't move. The darkness in the closet began to shift. A shape emerged, pale, twisted, human-like. Long fingers. Eyes black as coal. Mouth stretched in a silent scream. And it wasn't alone. From the shadows, dozens of faces emerged. Students, teachers, people who had disappeared over the years. All with the same hollow eyes, the same twisted mouths, the same desperate pleas. "Help us." The intercom buzzed violently, almost in panic. "The door chooses. You can't save them all. Leave now." I tried to turn, to escape, but the door slammed shut behind me. Hard. The room went dark. The instruments rose from the floor, spinning, rattling, vibrating in the air around me. The black shapes moved closer, circling, whispering, screaming my name. "Ethan, join us." The sound was deafening yet quiet, like it was inside my skull. Then I heard a familiar voice, not distorted, not twisted. "Ethan, listen. The door, it feeds on fear. It wants you to open it fully. It wants you to stay trapped." It was Mr. Daniel's voice, but wrong. Hollow, echoing. I realized he wasn't alive. Not in the way we understand. He had become part of it. The door groaned, a low rumbling sound like a living thing. It pulsed faster, and the shadows pressed closer. I had seconds to act. I grabbed a tuba stand and smashed it against the door. The pulsing slowed. The shadows hesitated. "Do not let it choose," the intercom hissed. I slammed the door one more time with all my strength. And then I ran. The room behind me went silent. The instruments fell to the floor. The shadows receded. I didn't stop until I was outside, in the bright afternoon light. My lungs burning, my hands shaking, my hair plastered to my face with sweat. The next day, the music room was normal. The janitor shrugged when I asked if anything had happened. Just a stuck door. Happens sometimes. No one mentioned the screaming. No one mentioned the shadows. But I know what's behind that door. And I know it waits. Because every night in my dreams, I hear it. "Ethan, come back. Don't leave." And I know one day it will call again.